On Saturday evening, the 16th of December, 3 pilots lost their lives in this Cessna 172 while attempting to land in foggy conditions and collided with these power lines adjacent to the runway at this small airport here in Independence, Oregon. Here's what we know so far. Independence, Oregon is a small airport near Salem, Oregon, a very tight-knit community of grassroots aviators. We spent some time up there last August putting on a STOL, S-T-O-L, short takeoff or landing demonstration and contest, had a blast announcing it, and got to meet a lot of these great folks up here. And there's a lot more to this story than just this initial report on this crash. Starting with the Aviation Safety Network, a Cessna 172 Skyhawk 1966 model, November 3992 Lima, 3 fatalities, 3 occupants. A Cessna 172G Skyhawk November 3992 Lima was destroyed when it struck power lines in impacted terrain near Independence State Airport, Independence, Oregon. The private pilot and 2 passengers were fatally injured. Preliminary indication indicates that heavy fog was present at the time of the accident. The airplane clipped a set of power lines southwest of the airport and crashed in a farm field, and a post-crash fire ensued. There is no AWOS or ASOS at Independence, Oregon. That's an automatic weather reporting station. The closest TAF, or terminal area forecast, is at Salem Airport, 10 miles to the east, and was reporting low IFR and below Category 1 weather at the time of the accident. That means it was basically the weather was below minimums there at Salem Airport. Independence is a non-towered Class G airspace with no instrument approach. Also, the PAPI, the Precision Approach Path Indicator, has been broken at Independence for several years now. The pilot did not hold an instrument rating. But there's more to this story. We're finally getting some much-needed rain here in California, and the Pacific Northwest has been getting hammered with a series of storms. And on Saturday, the 16th of December, there was a break in between the storms, but with all the moisture in the area, there was fog forming in the Willamette Valley between Eugene and Portland, near Salem. Independence Airport, located right here, is where the pilot and airplane is where the airplane is based, and where these pilots were trying to get back to return the airplane. This crew had started their day coming out of Independence, proceeded up here to McMinnville to do some instrument flight training, and then returned back to Independence just after sunset when the accident happened. And here's the location of McMinnville, just 10 miles to the east, where the weather was reported below minimums. So while there was a fog bank rolling into Independence here, and locals are saying that that fog bank was about a typical 300-foot thick fog bank, the weather was still relatively good up here in McMinnville. And if we look at the ADS-B data from ADS-B Exchange, we can see just the second half of their trip where they left McMinnville to return to Independence, Oregon. And the owner of the Cessna 172 is just heartbroken over this, as well as the rest of the entire community is, as these pilots were basically borrowing this aircraft or using this aircraft to get their instrument training completed. So they came in on a downwind here, a very tight downwind to Independence, Oregon. And once that fog rolls in, 300-foot fog bank, you know, you can typically see straight down through the fog okay. But once you get turned around here and descend down into the fog, your slant range visibility goes to nearly zero. So instead of finding the airport runway located right here, they apparently located Hoffman Road right here and collided with the set of power lines located right here on the corner of Hoffman Road, just off to the left of the runway. So just to give you an idea of how close they were to the runway, this is some video I shot from last summer when I was up there of this beautiful Bristol Bulldog biplane departing on runway 4. Here's the power lines running parallel to Hoffman Road, but right up here, right about there. This is the perpendicular set of power lines that they crashed into and the crash ended up located right about here. And apparently the aircraft was equipped with Garmin 750 equipment, which the pilots were very familiar with. And again, looking at the data over here on the left, this appears to be a classic case of CFIT, controlled flight into terrain. They did not stall the aircraft or lose control of the aircraft through spatial disorientation. They simply flew it into the power lines, into the wrong location. So at first glance from that accident report, this sounds like a classic case of a private pilot, non-instrument rated pilot, running into trouble with the weather, trying to get back home in foggy conditions. But that's not exactly the case. The pilots involved in this accident were 3 former Afghani Air Force pilots that worked together with the United States Air Force during operations in Afghanistan right up to the bitter end, until we evacuated out of the country. These pilots flew the Cessna 208 Caravan in operations in Afghanistan. So they were rated military pilots for the Afghanistan Air Force, and the pilots themselves were able to leave the country once we did our chaotic evacuation out of Afghanistan, but they left their families behind. These 3 pilots settled into the Salem, Oregon area and began working on getting their U.S. aviation ratings, including their instrument ratings, commercial, and to carry on as pilots here in the United States, and eventually were working on getting their families back to the United States. This is the mission these pilots flew in Afghanistan.
We start Air Force from zero after removing the Taliban from Afghanistan.
I'm a load master, so my main job is rigging and dropping the things, the loads.
Runway 11, minutes count, wind 190 at 5 knots, clear for takeoff.
Register Orange, unconnected load master.
Yes, Growth 09 climbing to 9,500 and we'll be on course.
You have the truck in sight? Yes, truck in sight. Green light. Load clear! Roger. Last drop checklist, static lines. Red drift.
I wanna be in my country peace.
It's a kind of question if you ask from everybody in Afghanistan, and you will get the one answer: peace.
So the entire aviation community at Independence, Oregon is mourning the loss of these 3 pilots and their aeronautical decision-making to attempt to return to Independence, to bring the aircraft back to its home airport instead of just staying up there at McMinnville, where anybody from the community would have came up to pick these pilots up and bring them back. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.
We start Air Force from zero after removing the Taliban from Afghanistan.